Lesson learned about going home after a midnight movie. Last night, I went to a midnight screening of Princess Mononoke, which ended around 2:30 a.m. in the morning. I had an offer to go over to a friend's house, but since he was busy packing to move to another city, I decided to just hoof it home. Thankfully, my city, at least on the weekends, have the subway running 24 hours, so I didn't have to wait in the cold to take what I like to refer as to the drunk bus. Went rather smoothly. Train arrived shortly after I got underground, and I made my connection easy peasy. The issue started when I got off at my stop. As I'm walking to go up the steps, I hear a woman on the other platform being really loud, easy to ignore. But then I kept hearing her say, "Miss? Miss?" I glanced because I was the only other female on either platform, but I didn't recognize her and just kept rolling. I get to the top of the first flight of stairs, and she gets to the top of her stairs at the same time, and once again starts with, "Miss? Miss?" But she looked like she was looking towards the ticket booth, so I assumed she was having an issue with the cops I saw on her platform and was trying to get someone to back her up. So I go through the turnstile and continue over to the escalator. I get above ground, light a cigarette, and wait for the light to change. Just as I cross the street, the same woman comes out of the stairwell of the corner I just got to. Fuck me. Now for reference, my subway stop have entrances on the street I was on, and on the street I live on. Out of habit, I don't go out the exit on my street because the walk to my house is a little too dark and a little too desolate. So now I'm boned because I could go back down into the subway and come out on my street. But that doesn't necessarily present a better scenario, so I walk and of course, she follows. Kept saying, "Miss, miss?" Asking for a light, talking about her some cop who wasn't anything, that she didn't care that they took her baby. She wants it back, but doesn't even actually want it, and how she needed to get to work. I just kept pretending I couldn't hear her and kept walking. The guy who was walking in front of us at one point turned around because duh, that didn't make her happy, and she gave a quick, "I'm not talking to men, I'm just asking her." Another guy walks past us, and she asked the time, 3:08 a.m., which prompted the work comment. Just we get to where I usually turn up to get to my street, the guy in front turns and walks the opposite direction on the same street. Since where I would turn gets rather dark where the local mechanic shop is, I decide to keep walking straight and hook around at the corner to my block. At that corner, the street I'm on and my street intersect. When I get to the corner and turn onto my street, she's still on my heels. Now I'm really starting to panic. There is absolutely no one around at this point, and I can't keep walking further away from the house because it's so poorly lit and it's my house, and no one is the fuck around anyways. As we round the corner, I hear her say, "There's the path mark." I knew I was close to home. I live right up there. The path mark, about a block and a half up the street, hasn't been open in over a year, but it is a handy landmark, so I start to chalk it up to just a creepy coincidence. I proceed to my house and toss the butt of my cigarette into the street, which she picks up and gives an actually sincere thank you. I get to my door, and she decides to sit on the steps of a neighbor's 2 doors down from me. I don't know my neighbors like that, but I know for damn sure she does not live there. That put me back in panic mode. Now in hindsight, I should have looped back around and gone back to the subway instead. But I wasn't thinking clearly at the moment. My keys were in my pocket, but I wasn't holding on to the specific 2 that opened my door, and I did not want to fumble with them in case she was actually trying to break inside. So I rang my doorbell pretending I didn't live there and needed to be let in, and decided to wait her out. It took about 2 doorbell rings and 15 minutes of me looking out the window like I was looking for someone. I live alone. She opened the door before she got up and started walking, mind you, walking in the opposite direction of the path mark. I followed her in the reflection of my screen door until she was far enough away that I could get my keys out and get in the door because she could try whatever it was that she was going to try. I kept rechecking I had locked the door, sat up in bed fully clothed, and cursing myself for misplacing my bat for the rest of the night. I don't live in the best of neighborhoods, but I've never had something like that happen scare me shitless. Needless to say, I really regretted not having gone to a liquor store earlier in the day, because I seriously needed a fucking drink right then. So crazy lady from the subway who followed me home, let's never the fuck meet again. A Midnight Peeper. This happened when I was a kid, I think maybe 9, 10 years old. I live in a little cookie-cutter house in the middle of a cul-de-sac for a chunk of my childhood. I like to think I was fearless. I leave home for hours unattended, venturing across my small desert town to meet new friends and explore locations typically off-limits to kids. Thinking about it now, however, I was most likely on the run. My family was terrible. I could write post after post and Reddit raised by narcissists about my folks alone. They were and still are so wrapped up in themselves that neglect was just a part of my life growing up. This meant it was easy for me to slip away from their crazy during the day, but this also meant things like keeping me safe and comfortable simply weren't amongst their priorities. For example, my window. My room was in the front of the house by the driveway. I don't know how it happened, but my blinds fell off the window or something like that. They were just gone. I had no curtains either. This meant every dramatic plot twist of Barbie and Friends, every solo karaoke session, every booger picked and bedtime prayer and Goosebumps book read, all of it was on display out to my neighbors, and I seemed to attract the attention of one in particular. I had this repulsion of beds when I was a little kid. I don't know how to explain it. Basically, I slept all over my room except my bed. I remember this particular night I fell asleep in an old recliner that had been retired to the corner of my room. I don't remember what woke me up, but my eyes were drawn to my window. There was a man there. He was standing on the window ledge, his upper half bent to the side so as to fit in the rectangle of the window. He wore some kind of ski mask thing, and he just stood there, staring at me. I stared back. Then I shut my eyes tight and pretended to be asleep for a little while, and by a little while, I probably mean around 10 seconds. I don't know what the logic was in me faking sleep, but I just really wanted him to go away. Plus, I was in my panties. I didn't want some strange man looking at me in my panties as I ran away, so I stayed in my busted old recliner and hoped he'd be gone when I opened my eyes again. He was still there. This time he was sitting on the ledge, head tilted to the side, as his body had been only a minute earlier again. He was very, very still. I was still too, for several seconds at least. I really didn't want him to know that I noticed him, so I tried again. Nope. Still there. Still watching. Still waiting for me to react. I had no choice. I finally worked up the courage to uncurl myself from the recliner. Panties be damned, scared and embarrassed as I was, I left my room as nonchalantly as possible, as if I had just taken a stroll to the potty or something like that. And I didn't go back. Though in hindsight, he was probably gone the second my door clicked shut behind me. The entire ordeal left me with a fear of windows at night that persists even though I live on the top floor of my apartment building as an adult. So I figured it'd be creepy enough to share it with you all. Thanks for reading. Walking on a highway during midnight. The following encounter happened to me this week. Note, I am a male in his mid-30s and English is not my first language. I remember feeling sick to my stomach, while tears ran down my cheeks into my beard. I was sitting in my car on the side of the highway around midnight, in between two major cities in Europe. Maybe less than an hour earlier, I fought bitterly with my girlfriend. We both got mad at each other. She got passive-aggressive and I began to yell at her. I could not stand to be with her that evening, so I got my keys, slammed the door, and off I drove to my apartment in another city, which is also my city of birth. I had to take a break during my drive home. The episode with my girlfriend woke emotions that were too great for me to ignore, so I just stood there on the highway with my blinking light and no engine turned on. It was silent around me, except the occasional truck passing by and the constant clicking of the blinking light. My body was tight, and in my mind, I ran through the escapade again and again. I hate when that happens, so I decided to continue driving. As the heavy flow of tears stopped, I turned the key, but I couldn't turn it all the way. I was making a face, surprised I couldn't turn the key all the way to start the engine. I retried it, nothing. The key was stuck again at the same position. I was stubborn and tried several times again and failed. Damn it. The thoughts of staying the night on the highway rushed to the forefront of my thoughts. Why? Because I foolishly forgot to grab my cell phone as I was storming out of the apartment while still yelling at my girlfriend. Now I had no means to contact the emergency service of the roadside assistance. Now the blinking of the blinking light and the clicking of it was like a constant blow with a sledgehammer to my head. I shut it off, and I realized for the first time how dark it was around me. Trucks passed me by within the following minutes, but I did not want to step out of my car and wave one of the drivers over. I did not trust them, don't ask me why. I always hate when people freeze in the midst of a situation that requires immediate action. So I stepped out of my car. It was slightly raining outside, I remember. Obviously, I knew where I was, since I regularly drove on that highway, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I knew that 2 kilometers ahead was a highway exit, so I figured I'll walk on the side of the highway up to that very exit. There was a gas station, and I hoped the place would still be open, even shortly after midnight. So I closed my car shut and began walking on the other side of the guardrail, away from the road. So the road was on my left and trees, illuminated by the moonlight, were on my right. I confess I was scared, very much so. I had no particular reason to be afraid, but my mind turned the shadows from the trees into men hiding there, watching me with these intense-looking eyes and hands ready to grab me. After 15 minutes or so, I began to move up a small hill, and the rain had actually turned into something else. The rain had turned into snow. It was snowing for a while there because the earth and the trees were already covered in white. After yet another while, I saw the exit in the distance. I reached it faster than I thought I would. I miscalculated the distance, but that was alright. I was happy to be close to light, people, and a phone I could use. Right before the exit, there was a bridge that went over the highway. When I was about to pass under the bridge, I saw a person jogging on it. I stopped and looked up in surprise. I only made out a silhouette, yet I clearly saw a woman, ponytail, small and athletic build, crossing the bridge. What woman would want to jog around midnight on a road close to a highway, with a wooded area on both sides of the bridge? A few seconds later, she was gone. I looked if I could make her out within the darkness, but I couldn't. Still weirded out, I continued walking and passed under the bridge. A couple meters further down the highway, I eventually took the exit. Now, in order to take the exit by foot, I had to get over the guardrail because there were thick bushes too close to the side of it that I was on. So basically, I was walking on the road down the exit to the gas station. On the right side of me, behind the bushes, there was a trail. If you decide to walk up that trail, you'd arrive back at the bridge that which I mentioned. So I was walking down the exit road slowly because it was slippery outside, but also with a steady pace because I did not want to get hit by a passing car. And then it happened. Someone jumped on me from behind and pushed me face first to the ground. In the middle of the road, I screamed in sudden terror and turned around, ignoring the pain in my chin and my right ear. The person was already on their feet again. I screamed again in shock and surprise. It was a woman in her mid-20s wearing jogging attire. It was the same person I saw minutes earlier on the bridge. She shrieked, and with wide eyes and saliva dripping out of her mouth, she charged at me again. Suddenly, I felt a sharp pain in my left eye. The woman scratched over my eyes and poked her fingers deep into my left eyeball. I stumbled backwards, and when she was running at me again, I threw her against the guardrail with her back first. The sound of the impact was cringeworthy, but I just realized that as a side thought. I broke down in the middle of the road, clutching my left eye. Moments passed and I wasn't attacked again. Against all the pain in my eye, I looked up, and through tears in both of my eyes, I saw the woman heading up the trail towards the bridge again, fast. Adrenaline shot through my entire body. The pain felt numb as I rushed down the exit road. falling on my rear end several times during the process. I was panicking like an animal at that moment. I just wanted to escape that place. Eventually, I reached the gas station, basically jumping against the door to throw it open. The guy behind the counter was shocked to see me. I was bleeding a bit, and my eyeball was swollen shut at that point. To make a long story very, very short, eventually, the guy freaked out, called the police, and called an ambulance as well. Eventually, the officer searched the area, trying to find that woman that attacked me. I gave them the description of that woman, but in the end, found nobody. I am at home now, in the apartment that I inhabit alone, and I am still terrified. I mean, even to this very, very moment, I cannot comprehend why the woman attacked me like she did. Why would she do something like that? But I know for certain that she went on a run in gym attire on the side of a highway in the middle of the night, with no other reason than just to find a victim like me.